Ingress controller. So what is a Ingress? Ingress is used to map external URLs to the cluster service. Cluster service pods are accessible within the cluster. So Ingress is used to map. Yeah, guys. So Ingress is used to map external URLs to the cluster. Uh, Kubernetes cluster service. Pods are accessible within the cluster, right? So pods are accessible within the cluster. To expose the pods outside the cluster, we are using the service concept. What are the services, guys? So we have a three types of services in Kubernetes cluster IP. So what is the cluster IP service, guys? So, so within the cluster IP, pods are accessible. Guys, pods are accessible. So within the cluster only. So what is the node port, guys? If you want to access the pods, if you want to access the pods or application, so outside the cluster, we can use the node port or the LBR load balancer. What is that, guys? Node port or load balancers. The service, guys. So this is the a service deployment. So right, so we want to give you two services. So one is something like a deployment application and the services. So we are using two types of services. So for example, last time we discussed about the microservices application, right? In the microservices application, we discussed about the make my trip. So in the make my trip, so we have a multiple services are involved on the make my trip. Say yes or no, guides, right? So make my trip. I'll tell you what is git cd Kubernetes cluster Kubernetes easy. So we use the make my trip, right? Make my tip. Mm. So we used the something like microservice based application, something like it's a Amazon.com. For example, Amazon.in, guys. So what is the Amazon.in? Amazon.in. So this is the website. This website is a microservice website, right, guys? So for example, if you are searching about the household household health care, this is a household supplies, this is the one service, guys. So household supplies, this is the one service. So for example, the sports supplements, this is the one service. Ayurveda, one service. These all are the different services, guys. These all are the homeopathy, personal care, these all are the different types of services. Different types of services. So I want to deploy a products API. Once you selected the product API, cart API. Once you select the product, you need to cart the API. You need to add it in the cart. So once you add it in the cart, we need to done the payment. Then payment is one services. So once the payment is done, so we are tracking the item. So where it is shipped or not, when it will come, right? These all are something like a microservices based application. So how we can how we can access these services, guys? How we can access these services? One second. Yeah. So so this is the service, right? how we can access this service, guys? So we can, yeah. So this is the different. So this is a, so this is the services. These are services, right? So in these services, how we can access, guys? So we can access by using the, so we can access by using the load balancer, right? So internally we are using the, so this is the application, right? So this is our application. So this is our application. This application having the, I want to expose, I want to expose to the outside of the network. So what is that, guys? We can use the node port, or a load balancer. Notepad as a load balancer. We can expose these services. For example, so this is one service, this is one service. So in this service having the two pods, guys. In this service having a two pods. So each and every service having the two pods. So for example, each and each and each and service having the two pods, right? Having the two pods. For example, this is one pod and this is one pod. So these are the two pods are, so two pods are running on each two pods are running on the each service. For examples, two pods are running on the two pods are running on the each, yeah, two pods are running on the each service. For example, these all are the products API one service, cart API one service, payment API one service, tracking is services. So every service. So these are product service. So this product service is running on two pods, and this cart service is running on two pods. How many pods, guys? So here also we ran two pods, and yeah. So on tracking also we run the two parts, right? So in this in this parts, our application will be deployed. Our application will be deployed on which parts? These two parts, guys. So application deployed on. So our application will be deployed on these two services. Something like a products. This is the product, and this is the cart. And this is the payment, and this is the application, this is the tracking, guys. So every product having the two pods are running, and the two pods are having the our application. So something like so I want to, so for example you are the, so these two people are the end users. So for example in the e-commerce website, so for example, the e-commerce website, the mm, so in the e-commerce website, you guys want to, you guys want to, so every node port having a node port or a load balancer, guys. For example, you created a service called as a, you created a service called as a load balancer. What is that, guys? Load balancer. So you created a service as a load balancer. So every service having their own load balancer. Something like how many load balancers we created. So four load balancers we created. How many load balancers, guys? Four load balancers we created. We created, right, for exposing the outside. How you can access this? So by using the load balancer in the browser, you can connect to the load balancer URL. So URL load balancer. So URL load balancer, URL a load balancer, guys. So if you want to connect this if you want to connect this connect this products API, the load balancer is using, right? A load balancer current something like uh, slash products products API slash a products API, right? So you can use this same way, the cart payments and tracking. So you are using this one, or you are using the Amazon.in, guys. So Amazon.in. If you use the Amazon.in, guys, let's see. If you use the Amazon.in, Amazon.in. So for example, Amazon.in. So once you want to go to the microservices, for example, today's deals. You see, so deals. So it will go to the deals. So if you are up if, dolls and furniture, if you are going to the furniture, so it will be adding the application, right? So Amazon slash deals. So Amazon slash deals. So what is the URL, guys? What is the URL? So this is the URL. So this is the URL. So URL this is nothing but a DNS. What is this, guys? DNS. So what is this DNS? Domain naming service. So you can access the So this is the pod IP, right? We are getting the pod node port or pod IP or a load balancer. So load balancer is a big URL. So is it easy to remember the end users, guys? Is it easy to remember the end users or not? So is it easy to end users? No, it is not easy to end users. Remembering this, right? So we need to create a DNS name. So where you can create the DNS name? You can create the DNS name by using the Route 53. You can create the Route 53 DNS name, right? The DNS name is nothing but a catchy name. Every end user can remember this name, guys. Amazon dot is easy, right? So we can use the DNS name for routing the microservices, right? Here. So here, um, so we use the load balancers. We use the load balancers, right? So instead of load balancers, we can use the ingress. So we can use the instead of load balancers. So we can use the ingress. Ingress. What is this, guys? So we can use the ingress and right. So we can use the ingress and the ingress. So we can use the DNS. What is this, guys? So we can use the DNS name and so we can use the DNS name and Ingress controller. What is this, guys? So instead of load balancer, so we can use the Ingress. So Ingress. So what is that, guys? So Ingress. Now you understood? Yeah, guys. We'll show you. So we can use the Ingress to expose. So we can use the Ingress to expose it, guys. So we can use the ingress to expose the pod. So yeah, guys. So it will be difficult to write. So for that purpose, we can create the cluster IP. So we can create the cluster IP service. So we can create the cluster IP service on each node. Then we can create a ingress. Then we can create the ingress, and in this ingress, yeah. So here we create the cluster IPs. So here, so we create the cluster IPs and the ingress controller to expose the services. Guys, understood? Yeah, to expose it, right, guys? So to expose it by using ingress. 1 second, guys. We'll show you the ingress. Yep. Now you understood, right? So it's a every service, something like this is a one product service cart and the tracking. So every service having their pods, application pods. So if you click the Amazon.in, that something like a cart, everything will be in the domain, right? That amazon.com, amazon.in. So in this, so we can create the ingress. So we can create the ingress. So for example, ingress, so we can create the LBR and route tables. So in the route tables, something like for example, hotels, trains, flights. So we can use the one domain called make my trip. So one domain called as a make my trip. So in the Kubernetes, guys, in the Kubernetes, ingress in Kubernetes. So ingress in the Kubernetes. So so ingress. What is the ingress, guys? Ingress an object that manages external access to the service in the cluster. External access to the service in the cluster. External access to the service in the cluster. Typical HTTP, ingress may provide a load balancing and SSL termination and name-based virtual hosting. So virtual hosting. So the terminology is something like node, cluster, and edge router, and cluster network and a service. Node, a worker machine in the Kubernetes part as a cluster. Cluster, a set of nodes that run containerized application managed by the Kubernetes for the example, and it's in most common Kubernetes nodes on the clusters are not part of the Kubernetes internet. So edge router, a router that enforces a firewall policy to your cluster. This could be a gateway managed by the cloud provider or a physical piece of hardware. Cluster network, a set of links, logical or physical, that facilitate communication within a cluster according to the Kubernetes service. A Kubernetes service that define a set of ports using the label selectors. Unless mentioned otherwise, the services are assumed. We have a virtual IP on the route table. So within the cluster, route table. So within the cluster. Guys, here you see. So the ingress. So once the client is searched in the www.amazon.in, the ingress managed the load balancer, and the ingress is routing to the service within the pod. Service within the pod. Guys, understood? So something like ingress resources. So what is the ingress resources? Something like API networking v1. So the kind is ingress. What is that, guys? Kind is ingress, metadata, minimal ingress, annotations. For example, this is the annotations and the spec, ingress class name, network example, rule, HTTP path, HTTP text path, path type equal to prefix, backend, service text, port equal to 20. So this is the a minimal ingress example.